All right, this is the specific identification method or the specific ID method. And this is another method that is used to determine the cost of goods sold that should be reported in the company's books that went along with generating the revenue and also uh, figuring out what the ending inventory balance will be. So as you can see here, this is the same scenario from the other inventory costing methods example. And when it comes to the specific ID method, you are specifically identifying the cost of the unit that was sold to generate revenue. Okay, so when it comes to this method, you have to be given, or in order for you to use this method, you have to be provided additional information telling you that out of the units that were sold, you know, this number of units were sold from this batch of inventory. That number of units were sold from that batch of inventory. You have to be, you have to be told specifically where these units are coming from that were sold. If you're not provided that additional information, and you are told to determine what the cost of goods sold is going to be under this method, then you can't proceed. You have to have additional information. So you have to be told. This is what differs between the other methods, the FIFO, LIFO, and weighted average method. This method, you have to be told additional information in order for you to use this method. So you'll notice that in your assignments where you're told to determine the cost of goods sold, value the inventory accounts, and under the FIFO, LIFO, weighted average method, and specific identification method, and the other three methods, FIFO, LIFO, weighted average, you're not given additional information, but specific identification you are. Okay, so they are going to be telling you out of those units that were sold, 500 came from this batch of inventory, or it came from this, from October 1st. The other 500 came from October 2nd, so on and so forth. And all you're going to do is just simply take what they tell you, that 500 units, okay, was sold from October 1st. You go and figure out what the amount is per unit, and then you get that total. And you include that in the cost of goods sold calculation. So it's pretty straightforward when using the specific ID method. It is a method that is used, it could be used on customizable orders, or, to keep track of the cost of that order. And, it's used on high dollar amounts, because if you're selling something for, if you're selling something for $1,000, you want to keep track of that cost on that item, because you probably spent a good amount of money to get it to its finishing conditions before selling it to the customer. Okay, so the specific ID method is a good method to use on, scenarios like that. So we scroll up here, we'll scroll down. You see here, let me get out this pen here. There we go. You see right here, this is your additional information that's provided. You notice that differs from the other three methods. So we see here 2,500 units were sold, great, for $35,000 in revenue. That doesn't change. Now, out of those 2,500 units, the additional information that's provided to us tells us that 800 units were sold from the October 1st batch of inventory, so from the beginning inventory account, or not account, but beginning inventory. Then we have 900 units were sold from the October 6th batch of inventory. Then we have 800 units sold from the October 10th batch of inventory. So it really is this simple. We're going to take what is provided to us, and we're going to include it in the cost of goods sold calculation. So you can see here on October 1st, 800 units was sold out of that batch. So $3,200 is included in cost of goods sold. Then you got October 6th. They let us know 900 units was sold from that batch of inventory of $4,500. Then we have October 10th. We have 800 units that were sold from that batch of inventory. And that gives us $5,600. So just to do our checks, to make sure we have included all 2,500 units, we take 800 plus 900 plus 800. That gives us 2,500 units that were sold. And from those 2,500 units, $13,300 is going to be our cost of goods sold, the expense that's going to be recorded in the company's books. Is that straightforward with specific ID when determining the cost of goods sold? Now, when it comes to determining what the inventory balance is going to be, you simply are just going to take what is remaining in October 1st batch, October 6th batch, October 10th batch, after taking into consideration what is actually included in this cost of goods sold column here. So October 1st, beginning inventory, there were no units that needed to be included in the ending inventory balance because all 800 units were accounted for in cost of goods sold. Okay, we go back up here, we can see October 1st, he had 800 units. So we've included all 800 units here into the cost of goods sold calculation. October 6th, we have 100 units remaining. That's included in inventory. Reason why is because we scroll up here to October 6th, we had 1,000 units. And from 1,000 units, 900 units was included in the cost of goods sold calculation, which leaves us with 100 units remaining in ending inventory. Then we have October 10th. October 10th, we started with 2,000 units. Out of 2,000 units, we used 800 units. That's included in cost of goods sold. You take 2,000, subtract out 800, that gives us 1,200 units remaining. And that's going to be, included in the inventory balance. So just to do our checks, we do have 1,300 units remaining because 3,800 units was available for sale. Subtract out 2,500 units that were sold. That gives us 1,300 units remaining. And out of those 1,300 units, the ending inventory balance comes out to be $8,900. So out of these four methods, you'll notice that up here, the revenue doesn't change. The revenue that's recorded or reported in the company's books does not change. But again, what does change amongst the methods of FIFO, LIFO, weighted average, and specific ID is the cost of goods sold, the expense that's recorded in the company's books, and also the ending inventory balance that's shown in the company's books.